All right, so today's case study is a 64-year-old female. 68-year-old female who has an autoimmune disease, has a lot of fatigue and muscle weakness. So we wanted to do a deep dive kind of on mouth today, which might surprise you because the first pillar that comes up in this report is nutrition. But there's a reason for that, and we're going to dive into it a little bit further. So for anyone who is new to this report, we are running over 1,100 different biometric data points through your vocal blueprint to essentially come up with a lot of data that determines where your body is at this point in time. And it's then going to categorize what things you need to work on and what things you can focus on to improve your overall health, and give very specific recommendations as to how to get started doing that at home yourself.
And there's 5 different pillars. So as you can see in our summary, it says support is nutrition. On yours, it's going to say support is something else, right? It could say oxygenation. It could say emotions, hydration, or mouth.
Yep.
Right. So those are the different things. And then where it says pancreas on our report, it might say a different organ for you within the context of that pillar. So those are dynamic pieces. Those are going to change depending on what your results are actually showing you. Also, the other unique thing here on our report that you might also see on yours is you might see pH environment come up twice. Mm-hmm. If you see it come up twice, number 4 on the 4th position where it says pH environment, that is static, meaning it's always going to be there, because we find that extremely important to know no matter what's coming up. And then if it does come up an actual like system, like where it says first system, second system, if it actually comes up as a system, that means you need to pay a little bit more attention to it, because it's not just it's not coming up like willy-nilly for every report. This is dynamic, right? The number 2 and 3 position on the bullets are dynamic. So if you see pH environment twice on this summary of results, then you really need to pay attention to that and provide ways to alkalinize your body. And then you will see also a physical influence, you'll see an emotional influence, or you can see both, right? So we have it both here, right? We have physical influence on the pH environment, which we'll explain on the next page with the key. And then you also see a physical and emotional influence on the 3rd point.
Related to digestion.
Mm-hmm. And then you'll see different organs or things related to that system that needs support, meaning these are the things that are most contributing to that imbalance, as you can see. So those are going to be dynamic depending on what's on your report. So this summary of results, pretty much most of it is dynamic and unique to what you're going to do and what you're going to see. And then we're going to go through different steps that you can kind of understand of how to take action on that. And tonight is going to be, this presentation is going to be a little bit more, because we're not just going to share a little bit. This is
we're starting to do deep dives.
Yeah, so this is a big download for a lot of different things dealing with the pillars, and to help you take action no matter what pillar shows up or what you're wanting to tackle. So as you can see, there's going to be percentages, and if you've been reviewing your report, you'll see anywhere between 0% and 100%. Anything over 50% is good. Right. So meaning it's passing, maybe not good. It's passing. So it still might need support if it's in the, low 50s or upper 50s, but it's still in a decent shape.
It's not usually where we start.
Yeah. So, but it can be a place that we begin depending on what's kind of going on. But and then you kind of see emotional versus physical. You see emotional factors, intellectual, emotional, behavior, and spiritual. We put these on the report for you so that you can see the possibility of, if an emotional thing comes up for a different organ or a system, this allows you to self-explore to figure out what's kind of going on. Let me just, okay, there we go. So then you have the physical factors. There's not much you'll be able to really distinguish in this state. You won't be able to tell if it's happening on a molecular level or a biomaterial level, but this is just, again, for people that want to geek out. The emotional factor we thought was very important because, again, intellectual are going to be thoughts, emotions are emotions, behavior are habits that you do daily or, weekly. And then spiritual is going to be, whatever you divine to. And then the last thing that you can see on the report is whether or not the thing is acute or chronic, right? Acute is going to be more recent, possibly. It's going to be a strong possibility for inflammation. And then chronic is most likely going to be more long-term and an ongoing imbalance.
Yeah. So the reason that this review of this report is a little bit different is because even though this individual's nutrition pillar came up as the pillar that needs the most support, you can see that the same organ showed up for them in the mouth. So this is something that if we want to address the pancreas for this person, we don't only want to tackle their nutrition, we also want to support mouth. And those are also the two areas that are below 50%.
Yeah.
On this report.
So you see that it's going to be good to address both. And here, I just want to go to the pull up the resource.
Yeah, well, and before we do that, I also want to point out that the other reason why we want to make sure that we're focusing on mouth for this person and including that in what they're tackling initially is because when we go to the third page, we see that the most impactful factor is the mouth, and it's currently impacting 4 of their systems. So just by starting on him, so when you see something like the mouth, and it also shows up in their digestive impactful factors. So when you see something like the mouth show up as the most impactful factor, as something related to one of the systems that comes up, and as one of the pillars that is below 50% and is also related to the organ that is coming up as the pillar that needs the most support, this is a way to start picking out underlying patterns that show up in multiple areas. That can help you hone in on doing the least amount of effort for the greatest amount of impact for your healing journey. So that's why we're actually considering this report a mouth-focused report, even though that wasn't the initial pillar that showed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nope.
Oh no, Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's right there.
Good call.
So to that extent, what we have made for you.
And this is in the resource.
This will be,
as you can see, I was trying to click on the last bullet here, where it says click here for a full list of health resources. It's on the last page. So it's going to bring you to this. And right now we have the first 3 pillars done. We're going to be building the other 2 soon, but here, let's take the example of the pancreas, right? And you want to go to nutrition or the mouth first?
We're going to look at nutrition first because that was the pillar. And then we're going to see how it also comes up and relates to mouth and pancreas.
So on that pillar page, right? If you see multiple organs, even if it's not in red, if you see more than one of the same organ showing up, then I urge you to for sure go to the glossary, look up the organ for those different sections that it's in.
For those pillars.
And just look at that information and do those recommendations, because that's the place you want to focus on.
Yeah.
So here we go. And it's clickable links on the, it's a table of contents that you can click on and it goes straight down to it. So here it starts off by showing you how the pancreas relates to nutrition, just to give you some basic information.
So in case this is too small to read on your screen, what it says is a lack of nutrition can harm the health of the pancreas, which is essential for digesting food and regulating blood sugar. This is because the pancreas is responsible not only for the production and regulation of insulin, but also it produces digestive enzymes that help break down your food.
And this can actually affect your mouth in a great way, because the high blood sugar, right? If you have high blood sugar or irregular blood sugar, it's going to affect your enzymes, not just your digestive enzymes like in your stomach. You need to think of the entire digestive tract, meaning it starts in your mouth. So like you could have dry mouth, for example, and that dry mouth could be a cause from the pancreas being inflamed and increasing increasing sugar in the blood, which then increases the possibility of infection, inflammation, and then your saliva could become less, right? So these
and I know for a fact that this person has extreme dry mouth.
Yeah,
That's one of the things that she suffers from.
So it's interesting. So we just want to, walk you through the basics of how it relates to that specific pillar, but then we give you recommendations.
So some foods that support good pancreatic health that are related to nutrition are fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, berries, super high in antioxidants, leafy greens, whole grains, in particular oats and brown rice, turmeric, which golden paste is a great recipe to get in a lot of turmeric easily every day. You just make this paste and put it in hot water and drink it like tea.
We have that.
Not on here yet, but we can add that as another resource. Nuts and seeds, in particular walnuts and flax seeds, because they're also high in omegas, and that supports pancreatic function. Broccoli, and then also green tea. Oops. And it's make golden paste, not milk.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Male golden paste.
There we go.
So again, we're always going to be building on this glossary of terms to add more recommendations and resources as we think of them and as they come up in our practice, so that you guys can benefit from that too.
Okay, so but it won't stop there, right? If I was this person and I was looking at this report and looking at this video, the other thing that I would recommend doing, obviously, is going back up to the table of contents and then clicking on pancreas for the mouth.
Yep.
And again, this is now going to change the direction, right? This is going to tell you, okay, here are the different teeth that are associated with this. These teeth can influence the stomach. So sometimes this correlation presents as a digestive issue, which you saw in the previous example.
And on their report, digestion came up as one of the systems that needs support, and it showed that it's related to the mouth.
Right.
So again, all these little things are tying
Digestive,
together.
Right here, right? So it's affecting the digestive. So again, we're just trying to paint a picture the best we can, regardless of us being here.
Of all these little connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So when you look up the report, count up how many times either stomach or pancreas comes up. Right now, you don't want to count pancreas if it's already under that pillar. So for example, right, you just want to count pancreas or anything related to stomach or digestion within that scope. So you're not counting one from here. You're counting one here and then going from there.
So yeah, if you're already looking at it under the mouth pillar, don't count that as pancreas. Count instead the pancreas that comes up under nutrition, because it's in a completely different pillar.
You mean vice versa? It's in mouth.
Sorry, yeah, vice versa.
Yeah. So you don't want to count the original place where that organ is. You want to count all the other ones after that.
So not the red one, but count the blue ones.
Yeah. So then you have pancreas here. And again, you have digestion, right? So that's a second one.
So count that as number 2.
And so then you have at least 2, right? So now you go back and you say, okay, if you see, at least 2 pancreas
or something related to it, like stomach or digestion,
then here's some different things that you can do for it. Here's the recommendations. You can support the pancreas or the stomach by including the pancreas or stomach support foods listed in the nutrition, which is what we just went over. However, here's some other things that you can do to support the pancreas. Movement that supports it is twisting movements, literally just twisting.
And it's so amazing because when I was living in China, you would see that all the time. You would see a lot of the elderly people in the parks, especially around like the exercise equipment, and they would just be standing out there twisting from side to side. I would see people doing it on their balcony in the middle of the day after they had eaten a meal. I would even see my colleagues do it after we had gone for a meal and then went back to the office at work. A lot of times they would take a moment and they would twist back and forth, and they would just hold their arms close to their body and twist back and forth. And it was a way to help improve their digestion after eating, especially if they didn't have time to go for a long walk. So this is not new information. This is stuff that's been done for thousands of years in other cultures.
Yeah. So it's just something to consider with with ways of supporting the pancreas in different ways beyond nutrition, right? Because this was in mouth.
Yeah.
Right. So this is giving you another way to support the pancreas, because supporting that is going to support the mouth, right? If you can get your pancreas regulating just fine and functioning just fine, it's going to cause less inflammation.
You're going to help the blood sugar. You're going to help the digestive enzymes in the saliva.
Everything.
It's all a cascading effect.
So it's really interesting how it all connects.
Some other movements to open up that area are going to be child's pose or cobra pose. Those are both yoga poses. You can look them up. Child's pose is also really great for opening up the hips and the back. Then we also have frequency medicine that supports pancreatic health. And if that's something that you're interested in that you're not currently doing, you can reach out to us directly. We'll give you our contact information at the end of this webinar, and you're welcome to try that option. We have a try it before you buy it kind of deal where you can try it out for a week and see if it's a good option for you. Something else that's really great is infrared saunas. It supports a myriad of healing in different ways, but the pancreas is definitely one of those ways.
Yeah, and because the pancreas moves systemically across the body in so many different ways and affects so many different organs, yeah, a full spectrum infrared sauna and it is great. And just doing it once a week is great support for the body. But the twisting you can do, in the poses you can do daily, right? You can just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and do that. And it's really, really incredible. So this is kind of the layout that we recommend, that you look at your report and say, what are the things that are coming up the most, right? Anything that's coming up 2 or more times, you should be looking at that pillar and going to the glossary and looking at that organ. Yeah. Now, if let's just say there's no patterns on the pillars, but you see patterns here, right? You see patterns with the organs on the masters of function top priorities, right? So if you see, 1 or 2 different organs here, or even a most impactful organ. Yeah.
If you don't see any of your organs or systems repeated, start with the most impactful factor, because you're already going to have step-by-step instructions for helping to support your initial pillar that comes up as your red one. But after that, go straight to the impactful factor and go to this glossary and find that impactful factor listed in the glossary and start supporting it that way, because that'll give you very specific recommendations for what to do.
Yeah. And again, there's already resources on this report, right? So as you can see, there's learning resources for the pH environment. You just click there and you go to that specific resource talking about how to help your pH. And then here there's another resource. So you already have 3 resources on this page alone dedicated to those specific things, right? You even have a resource below where it says most impactful factor. But again, we wanted to give another layer of explanation and connecting the dots, especially with the pillars, because that is the most overarching thing that's going to affect your whole well-being. Right. So even if there are no patterns, in my opinion, I would say you should, at least for right now. Now we're going to be building out emotions and hydration, but anything in the mouth, nutrition and oxygenation as of today, I would go look. Like if I was this person, not only would I look at pancreas for mouth and nutrition, which is what we just did, but then oxygenation for lungs.
So let's do that real quick.
So these are additional resources on top of already all the resources that we've given you that are directing you in specific ways.
So one of the things that often goes unnoticed as a contributor to how much oxygen you're taking into your lungs is your posture. So things like paying attention to how open your chest and shoulders are throughout the day is going to be really important. And if you need help in that department, they make wearable harnesses that you can put on underneath your clothing. And for women, they just go right along the bra line. There's actually ones that are pretty comfortable. I've tried them out myself. And they help keep your back more open and upright. And what that does is that'll force you to take a deeper breath throughout the day.
So it's not going to just help your lungs, right? We're always trying to think of things that are going to go in multiple layers. It's going to help your lungs. It's going to also open up your liver, because your organs can get stuck.
Because so much of the time we're spent hunched over computers or telephones or steering wheels. And, you know, we forget that we need to lift from our core. Like, imagine a little string at the top of your head that's pulling you directly up. That's how your spine should be aligned constantly. And when it's not, it really does. It compresses those organs and makes it more challenging for them to function.
Yeah, so that just paying attention to your posture and opening up your chest is going to do lungs, heart, liver,
diaphragm,
and it's going to also help your lymphatic system and circulation, right? So it's going to help in a lot of ways.
And then sometimes the other thing that can be inhibiting oxygenation in the lungs is if you've got some sort of, you know, lingering infection or toxicity that's kind of hanging around. And so there are certain essential oils that can help clear out infections and help open up breathing in the lungs. The most common ones that are going to help are going to be tea tree oil, eucalyptus, and peppermint. And you can either directly inhale them by holding the bottle of oil under your nose and just smelling it really deeply. Or if you have a diffuser, you can add a couple drops to a diffuser and gently inhale the steam that they produce. If you are using a diffuser, be sure to fill it with really good quality water, like distilled water, because you don't want any extra contaminants going into the lungs. And you will be adding extra contaminants if you inhale tap water, well water, spring water, or water from the refrigerator. And if you want more specific information on what kinds of water are good and why, then go to that click here for all resources page at the very end of your report, and it will take you to a list of videos, and one of those videos is all about water. The other thing is that when you are looking for an essential oil, make sure you're choosing one that is hand poured. So the company that we like is called Wisdom of the Earth, and that's because we know for sure that they hand pour all of their oils. The oils nowadays that are mass produced are produced in metal vats, and so sometimes that metal toxicity gets leaked into that oil. You don't want to put the metal in your lungs. That causes new problems. So again, making sure it's a small batch produced hand poured oil is going to bring just a different level of quality to this particular option for your healing process.
Yeah, and I know that she says you can, you know, inhale it or put it in a diffuser. You can also apply it straight onto that area.
Yeah.
Right. So you can put it over your lungs. So there's a lot of different ways that you can apply the essential oil, and essential oils are great.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of you have
add it to your bath,
at least played with it, but
yeah.
I mean, but I would definitely, this is a great way to help the lungs.
Yes.
So again, this is just another example of how we would use this resource in a constant basis way in context to the report.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the deep dive.
So that's the deep dive. And then just in case, right, this is a place for you to geek out. So this is page number 5 on your report, where it shows the remaining systems. There's 10 total systems. Yeah. The top 2 most needed in support are going to be listed on page 4 with top priorities. The remaining of them are going to be listed below, just for you to kind of compare and contrast as you do possibly more reports. Yeah, let me just.
Yep. Do you want to send it to everybody? So the question we just got was, what is the name of the essential oil company? And the one we like is called Wisdom of the Earth. It actually is here in Arizona, and they have a little special room in the basement that's all wooden. And there are 2 people, and their entire job is to hand pour the oils. They are called sacred pourers, and they're required to say a prayer as they pour each oil. It's very special. It's all women owned. It's just a lovely little company, and they have really good quality
and
stuff.
They just added stuff to their website where if you scroll to the very bottom on their homepage, you can type in a symptom. Yep. And it will give you recommendations for other oils.
For which oils would be best suited for that. And they've got very well-researched recommendations.
So this last page is, if you really want to geek out, this lists alphabetical order, all the major organs and systems going on in the body. And then here you see only 1%, right? You see chronic and 1% on the adrenals on the page that we're on right now. because this is taking a average of both the physical percentage and the emotional percentage, and then putting it as a total health percentage.
Right.
So these are total health scores and percentages. And then you'll also see if it's chronic or acute. And then right below that, you'll also see if it's on the more physical side or the emotional side, which side needs support for these things. So again, if you're looking at this, what I recommend doing is looking at things that are, again, below 40%. And finding ways to support those. But again, you already have enough to do with supporting your pillar, supporting your two top systems, supporting the most impactful factor. And now you have a way to deep dive into that pillar.
Using that glossary.
Realistically, even though, you want to pay attention to these scores, this is really more for you to geek out later on. As you support the pillar, you're going to see these scores change.
And this way you can put your reports side by side as you do other ones in the future, and you can see how your percentages improve and shift as you apply these recommendations to the things that come up for you.
And you want to give yourself a good 30 days.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there's enough content, enough things for you to do between all the different resources pertaining to specific things that we just talked about, that, you should apply for a whole month. I wouldn't test it any earlier than that, retest it any earlier than that. So this is just a walkthrough of the report and really a major deep dive into this new glossary of terms for all the pillars, so that you can take your health to the home. And I mean, that's what we want. We want you to take that health and all these health concepts into your home and apply them daily.
And again, if you just want to look at all the different resources available to you and to access that glossary of terms that we just showed you, this last page where it says here in green, that's the button you click on to access those resources.
And again, I just added the glossary of terms, so you should also have access to that as of today.
Yep.
So that you can start deep diving on your own.
All right. Thank you for joining us for that case study.